Hello everybody, I am Dr. Sunanda Chava. I am a professor in oral medicine. So today I want to just discuss few things about the descriptive terminologies in oral medicine or dentistry and some medicine. Okay, so each disease will have its I have collected some terminologies and all, so I'm going to talk about it. So each disease will have its own course and presentation. So it will leave an identity mark on history, clinical examination, radiographic examination, and histopathological findings. It allows the doctor to diagnose and treat a condition based on its features. The people who describe diseases use some terminologies which are useful for us to know a disease. These are known by some terminologies which are given below. It can be used for aunt mini method, means aunt or uncle telling about some disease what they have seen. So that is using knowledge given by elders or others. So you have various disorders or lesions appear in the oral cavity which have been named according to their appearances and all. Sometimes these appearances resemble like certain animals or some objects and all. So hence they are named accordingly. So first thing is you have something called as cafe au lait spots. So these spots are also called giraffe spots or cheetah spots. So these cafe au lait spots in giraffe spots and all, giraffe spots, these spots resemble coffee with milk or spots on giraffe. So they are also called coast of Maine in French. So they are seen in conditions like McCune-Albright syndrome and then neurofibromatosis. So you have cheetah spots. So these are also cafe au lait spots. They resemble cheetah spots. So if the borders are irregular, as in McCune-Albright syndrome, they are called coast of Maine. So if the borders are smooth, they are called, if the borders are irregular, as in McCune-Albright syndrome, they are called coast of Maine. If the borders are smooth, as in other disorders like neurofibromatosis, Addison's disease, they are called coast of California. So next is eagle's talon, that is claw. Talon's cusp, it's also called talon's cusp. So it's a type of dental anomaly where there is extra cusp on cingulum. Was first described by Mitchell, Kimberly Meller, Louis Ripa as resembling eagle's claw. So it occurs more in maxillary laterals, 55% that is, followed by maxillary centrals, 33%, lower incisors, 6%, and maxillary canines, 3%. It's also called interstitial cusp. So it's a type of dense invaginatus. So it's associated with Rubinstein-Taybi syndrome and orofacial digital 2 syndrome. The problems with this talon's cusp are incisal interferences, aesthetics, caries. Treatment includes regular follow-up every 6 months, fluoride application to prevent caries, spit and fissure sealants, corneoplasty, root canal treatment, and extraction. So you have everybody is now fond of butterfly. So next is butterfly shaped lesions and all. So malar rash, you get a malar rash on the cheek malar bones. So you have systemic lupus erythematosus where you see malar rash, also found in Bloom syndrome, dermatomyositis, and pellagra. This rash is seen on malar process at cheeks and bridge of nose. So this malar rash, butterfly shaped lesion, it's also called Vespertilio rash, as it resembles bats and its wings. Its exact etiology is unknown. It's thought to be vasculitis with photodermatitis due to ultraviolet light or exposure to sunlight of the face. Characteristically, nasolabial folds are spared. Butterfly-shaped lesions also are found in tuberous sclerosis, that's also called epiloia. So these fleshy wart lesions on cheeks and nose in a butterfly shaped fashion in tuberculosis, they were first considered to be sebaceous adenomas. Now, recently they have told that it has been told that it has now it's considered to be angiofibromas. So they can be treated with immunomodulator called topical sirolimus in white soft paraffin. So you get butterfly shaped lesions even in leukoplakia occurring in the flora of the mouth, under the tongue and all. So it has very high malignant potential. So due to thin mucosa in this area and pooling of carcinogen in this site and staying in contact for very long time. So whatever the patient drinks or smokes and all, drinks and all and carcinogens, they get pooled in the floor of the mouth. So under the tongue and the mucosa under the tongue and in the floor of the mouth, they are in contact with the carcinogens for very long time. So this leukoplakia occurring in this area, it has very high malignancy and also it's hidden there because they are not seen very easily. So this has very high malignant potential. So because of its hidden nature, the detection is delayed. So it has bilateral corrugated wrinkle appearance texture resembling the ebbing tide. Next, you have some terminology called as some children are called butterfly children. So there you have this butterfly children means you have skin in children affected by hereditary severe epidermolysis bullosa, which is very fragile. The skin in this epidermolysis bullosa patients hereditary severe form is very fragile like butterfly wings. So these children are called butterfly children. You have other terminology called crocodile tears. So skin in the children, crocodile tears. So crocodile tears or gustolacrimation, it's a rare complication when there is pathology in and around optic ganglion and facial nerve, that is Bell's palsy. So in some cases like trauma, gustatory fibers destined to supply salivary glands become secretory fibers to lacrimal glands, resulting in homolateral tearing while the patient is eating. Removal of part of lacrimal gland will be therapeutic based on Schirmer's test. So next you have tongue. It's called gustatory sweating. So it's related to tongue and all. It's called tongue gustatory sweating. So gustatory sweating in Fraze syndrome, which is also known as auriculotemporal syndrome, bilager syndrome, or Dupuis syndrome. So it's called by and gustatory neuralgia. These are the terminologies used for gustatory swelling. Gustatory means tongue. So it's an autosomal dominant condition. Also, it can occur in neurological condition where there is damage to parotid gland due to any surgery or some disorder affecting the parotid gland. This causes damage to auriculotemporal nerve, which supplies the parotid gland. The damaged nerve fibers connect to the sweat glands found along the skin. Because of this, patient will experience sweating in front of the ear while eating and response to gustatory stimulus. The diagnosis of this gustatory sweating or that's Fraze syndrome and in other Fraze syndrome, you have um, diagnosis which can be made by clinical signs and symptoms, and have something called as starch iodine test. The iodine is applied to the face and the starch is put on it. The blue color will be produced in presence of sweat. This condition is treated by botulinum toxin, deodorant, topical glycopyrrolate, scopolamine ointment, that's an anticholinergic, and surgery. So next you have a nipple. So papilloma, it looks like a nipple. It's an exophytic growth which resembles nipple or fingers. So it's caused due to human papilloma virus 6 and 11. It's pedunculated or sessile. It can be confused to verruca vulgaris occurring intraorally, condyloma acuminatum, and focal epithelial hyperplasia. The conservative surgical excision is the treatment of choice with rare recurrence. So next is pink color, that's Pink's disease. It's also called acrodynia. Acro means extremities, wound, that is WOWN, means pain. It's also called hydrargyria, mercurialism, erythridema, erythridema polyneuropathy, Bilderbeck's, Selters, Swift's, and Swift feet disease. This is caused due to exposure to heavy metals like mercury in laxatives, antiseptic, and drugs used for yellow fever, syphilis. It can affect children. The affected patients will have hands, feet, and they become dusky red, giving the name Pink's disease. There is hair plucking, photosensitivity, nervous irritability, neuropsychiatric symptoms, and loss of teeth, hair. Treatment includes stopping of the causative agent, EDTA, and dimercaptosuccinic acid. Then again pink color, you have Pink's tooth of Mammeri, Mummeri. You find it in internal resorption of the tooth. In internal resorption of the tooth, there is resorption of dentin and pulpal walls. The pulp will fill up the resorbed areas and appears pink under enamel, which gives the name pink tooth. Its exact etiology is unknown, thought to be due to trauma, infection, deciduous tooth resorption. It also causes pink tooth, which gives, in internal resorption of tooth, the resorption of dentin and pulpal walls, the pulp will fill up the resorbed areas and appears pink under enamel, which gives the name pink tooth. Its exact etiology is unknown, thought to be due to trauma, infection. Deciduous tooth resorption also causes pink tooth. It's treated by root canal treatment. Private tract. So, tramline calcifications are seen in Sturge-Weber syndrome and basal cell nevus bifid-rib syndrome. There are parallel lines of calcification in the cortex of the brain resembling railway track in the radiographs. Terminology. Tramline calcification is also used to describe calcifications in cortex in renal cortical necrosis, even though it is different from the former. Then you have an animal, that is wolf. So this wolf terminology, it's called lupus in Latin. So a wolf is called lupus. So lupus in Latin means wolf. So it is used to describe destructive injuries caused by disease. So under this you have lupus vulgaris, lupus erythematosus and all. So in lupus vulgaris, skin when affected by tuberculosis, it's called lupus vulgaris. There will be ulcers with undermined edges, granulomas with caseation necrosis, tuberculomas that are swellings, scrofula or cervical lymphadenopathy, and collared abscess along the collar of the neck. The ulcer has undermined edges because of subepidermal lymphatic plexus involvement more than superficial tissue. The spurring nature means skin will be there, lymphatic subepidermal plexus will be there. The tubercular bacteria will have affinity towards the subepidermal lymphatic plexus. So here under the skin it burrows. So it will destroy the tissue more than the superficial skin. So you have undermined edges. That's the burrowing nature. So that's why you get undermined edges in tuberculosis and all, skin tuberculosis. So they might be associated with pulmonary infection. Sometimes there might be allergic or ETH reaction to Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which causes the disease. So treatment will include administration of anti-tubercular drugs, isoniazid, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, ethambutol, and streptomycin for 9 months or more. So next disease is lupus erythematosus. The basic problem, it's found in systemic lupus erythematosus. The basic problem in SLE is vasculitis. So it mimics other diseases to a greater extent. Systemic lupus erythematosus. So multi-system involvement occurs in SLE, the systemic lupus erythematosus. It's an autoimmune disorder. So this lupus erythematosus will also have a malar rash. You have ACR SLE classification of SLE by SLICC in 2013, which has given 11 criteria out of 4 which should be fulfilled, or directly you can do renal biopsy and prove lupus nephritis with ENA or double-stranded anti-DNA antibodies should be positive. So the 11 criteria are acute cutaneous lupus, that's malar rash, photosensitivity, and chronic cutaneous lupus, the second one, classic discoid lupus and others. Third one is oral ulcers or nasal ulcers. Fourth one is non-scarring alopecia. You have fifth criteria, that is synovitis, involving 2 or more joints characterized by swelling or effusion or tenderness in 2 or more joints and at least 30 minutes of morning stiffness. You have sixth criteria, serositis. Seventh is renal urine protein greater than or equal to 500 mg protein within 24 hours, or red blood cell CAS. So you have eighth criteria, neurological disease, so seizures, psychosis, mononeuritis, multiplex, myelitis, peripheral cranial neuropathy, acute confused state. You have ninth one, that's hemolytic anemia. So 10th one is leukopenia. You have less than 4,000 per millimeter cube of WBCs at least once, or lymphopenia less than 1,000 millimeter cube at least once. In the 11th criteria is thrombocytopenia, that is less than 10 lakhs. So at least once. So you have immunologic criteria. So you have ANA level above laboratory reference range, anti-dsDNA antibody level above laboratory reference range, anti-Smith antibodies, that is presence of antibody to Smith nuclear antigen. Then you have fourth one, antiphospholipid antibody positivity. Fifth, low complement, that is C3, C4, CH50. You have sixth one, direct Coombs test in the absence of hemolytic anemia. So the management will include antimalarials, corticosteroids, non-biologic DMARDs like cyclophosphamide, methotrexate, azathioprine, mycophenolate mofetil, cyclosporine, NSAIDs like ibuprofen, and biologic DMARDs, that's disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs like monoclonal antibodies and IV immunoglobulin. So now you have frog. So frog's belly. So you have mucocele of sublingual salivary gland occurring in the floor of the mouth, resembling frog's belly, that is rana. So it has tail appearance in MRI. So in the mouth you have a frog's belly appearance for the mucocele of sublingual salivary gland. It appears in the floor of the mouth. So it's called, if it's cervical plunging ranula, it can come through the neck and you'll have a swelling in the neck of the neck, and there it is called plunging ranula and all. So that is again frog. So it's basically a mucocele. So velvet lesion, you have erythroplakia, acanthosis nigricans, lingua villosa, that's hairy tongue. So you have screwdriver shaped teeth, that's incisors, where you see in syphilis. You have cork screw shaped teeth. So that's one more description. Treponema pallidum, syphilis bacteria, because of their appearance. So you have something called as mulberry bush. Mulberry molars in syphilis because of their appearance. So it's mulberry bush. So you have wrinkled appearance and all. So you have something called as stain there, which is found in mottled teeth in dental fluorosis. Mottled teeth in dental fluorosis. It's called stain, yellow stains, fluorosis, dental fluorosis. So it's called mottling. So bird face, where do you see bird face? It's seen in TMJ ankylosis. You see in case of Treacher-Collins syndrome. You see in case of golden hair syndrome. So you have some lines where you see in case of lichen planus. That's lines, that's called Wickham's striae. So that's very important for the diagnosis of lichen planus. Wherever you see lichen planus, either on the skin or the mucosa, either in the erosive form, ulcerative form, hypertrophic form, wherever you have, you find some lines or striae. These are called Wickham's striae. These are diagnostic of lichen planus. So even if you have a blister-filled fluid-filled blisters, where you have some confusion to diagnose the lichen planus, that's called bullous lichen planus, you can see for the line somewhere near the somewhere in the lesion or around the lesion, you might find some lines, white lines. So these are made up of small minute papules, pinpoint papules. So basic primary lesion here is a papule. So it's called Wickham's striae. So you can diagnose lichen planus by seeing the Wickham's striae. So next is Tyndall effect. You have pigmented lesions like hemangiomas which reflect blue light and absorb other colors and appears blue just like sky. So this effect is called Tyndall effect. So you have a spider. So you have spider-like nevi in liver cirrhosis that are basically telangiectatic lesions. So you have spider hands, feet, spider-like hands and feet. They are found in arachnodactyly, long limb-like spider, which is found in Marfan's syndrome. So arachnodactyly like structure of the hands and feet you see in case of Marfan's syndrome. Now you have something called as crow's feet. At the lateral part of the eye, you have some wrinkles in aged people and all. So elderly people and all. So these are due to aging and all. So they can be treated by botulinum toxin or vertical myectomy. So you can go, next one is lipstick. So you have lipstick sign. So lips sticking to each other in xerostomia. They stick to each other. So due to xerostomia, so you have it's seen in case of Sjogren's syndrome. Thick ropey saliva you get, it acts as a glue for the lips. They stick to each other. To each other. So that's called lipstick sign. So you have tongue blade sign. So this is also sign you have where you this is the sign which is seen in xerostomia. So in Sjogren's syndrome and all, where you have dry mouth, xerostomia and all, you have to put the tongue blade onto the mucosa. So if it sticks, it's a sign of xerostomia. It's called tongue blade sign. So this one other sign along with lipstick sign. So next is sun rays. So where do you get this sun ray appearance? So sun ray appearance, you get it in case of sarcomas of bone. That's a radiologic picture. So you get it in case in osteogenic sarcoma. So sarcomas of bone. That's osteogenic sarcoma, chondrosarcoma, Ewing sarcoma. So next is a misnomer which is called sun ray fungus. That's a misnomer of actinomycosis bacteria. In actinomycosis you get sun ray appearance. It's called fungus. It was first called fungus, but it's not a fungus. It's a bacteria. So it responds to penicillin. So it's called sun ray fungus. Sun ray. Okay. Now next one is triangle. Triangle, you have Codman's triangle. You see it in case of radiographs of osteogenic sarcoma or other sarcomas of bone. So you have pebbled appearance, which is called cobblestone appearance. There you get the mucosa will have pebbled appearance in case of Crohn's disease. So you get it even in case of granulomatosis with polyangiitis, which was previously called Wegener's granulomatosis. So you get cobblestone appearances in Wegener's granulomatosis, which is recently named granulomatosis with polyangiitis. So next one is cherry blossom appearance. So cherry blossom tree or branchless fruit-laden tree appearance you get in case of xylography of Sjogren's syndrome, where the contrast agent will escape through the atrophied ducts. So these, it's also called snowstorm appearance. So next you have cauliflower shaped calcifications where you have calcified lymph nodes which are seen in case of tuberculosis. So next one is lemon. Lemon on stick appearance. So thin hands and legs, obese abdomen give this appearance. It's seen in Cushing's syndrome. So next one is ball in hand appearance. So this radiographic picture in intrinsic tumor of salivary gland with the tumor suppressing the duct. It's called ball in hand appearance. Now we have next one is starry sky appearance. So we have Burkitt's lymphoma. So you can see that appearance. Next one is Darling's disease. Darling's disease. So it's a histoplasmosis. It's a fungal infection called histoplasmosis, also called Darling's disease. So other names for Darling's disease is Cave's disease, Caver's disease, and Ohio Valley disease. It was first described by Samuel Taylor Darling. So it's named after him. So Darling. Okay. Next one is Kissing's disease. So infectious mononucleosis, you get, it's called Kissing's disease. It's a sexually transmitted disease. So floating teeth. In aggressive periodontitis, bone is lost due to causing the teeth to float. Floating teeth. So in aggressive periodontitis, you have teeth floating due to loss of bone around the teeth. It's also seen in they are also seen in Langerhans cell histiocytosis due to bone destruction, malignancies of jaws, cherubism. Next name is copper. So kissing disease and all, it's not appearance, but because of kissing it is caused. Because of kissing it is caused, and then Darling's disease because the person who named is called Darling. So here it's not the description, but it has taken the name of the person who named it. So copper beaten appearance in craniofacial dysostosis like Crozon syndrome, where there is early fusion of cranial sutures causing developing brain to put impressions on the skull. So here you have cranial sutures which are closed before the exact age. So the brain will be developing but the skull will not heal. So the brain will be applying pressure on the skull bone. So you have because of that you will have markings on the skull, that's called copper beaten appearance. In the radiograph you can see that seen in case of Crozon syndrome. So it's called beaten silver beaten brass appearance as well. So next one is hair on end appearance. Here you have hair. So where do you get this hair on end appearance? You have hemolytic anemias like sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, inner and out. Here you have inner and outer cortices which are thinned with bony trabeculae lying at right angles to cortices in radiograph. So you have one line cortex thin, you have another thin line cortex, and then you have bony trabeculae which are at right angles to the cortex. Okay. So you have hairy appearance in case of hairy leukopenia where it is an histological appearance. So biopsy you can see. So these B lymphocytes will appear hairy under the microscope in the section pieces. So hairy leukoplakia of the tongue in AIDS and non-AIDS patients in clinical practice. Also this leukoplakia, it's not a leukoplakia but you have a hairy leukoplakia. That's corrugated appearance. You see this is caused by Epstein-Barr virus. So it's seen in case of AIDS and non-AIDS patients. Okay, caused by Epstein-Barr virus. So you have at the junction of dorsum and ventral portion of the tongue, there is a transitional epithelium. This Epstein-Barr virus has some enzymes which because of the enzyme affinity, so this virus will have some affinity towards the transitional epithelium of the tongue to that area. So you get the corrugated appearance at the lateral margins of the tongue. This is caused by Epstein-Barr virus. AIDS patient You can treat by antiviral drugs used for AIDS. So if it occurs in non-AIDS people without AIDS, so it responds to acyclovir. So the treatment given for AIDS will cure the hairy leukoplakia in AIDS patients. No need for acyclovir and all. But in non-AIDS people, you can use hairy leukoplakia. Acyclovir ointment. So if it is applied, it vanishes. Now you have donut sign. So bone scan finding in aneurysmal bones with enhanced uptake at periphery and photopenic center. This will cause a donut sign. So you have salt and pepper. So it's seen in radiographs. That's a radiograph imaging picture, imaging appearance. So hyperparathyroidism with decreased bone density and granular trabeculae. And then in multiple myeloma also you can see salt and pepper. So salt and pepper appearance you see in radiographs of hyperparathyroidism, multiple myeloma. So fish so in hyperparathyroidism you have raised parathyroid hormone levels, and in multiple myeloma you have, not in all cases but in few cases, you see Benjon's protein more in urine. So Benjon's test. Next you have fish vertebrae. So it's seen in sickle cell disease. So you have something called as jug handle view. It's a radiographic view. So you have submental vertex where you see jug handle view. And then in you have something called as water's view. So it's seen in paranasal sinus view. Then you have other appearance in the radiograph called as ground glass appearance. It's seen in periapical lesions. Then it also seen in fibrous dysplasia. So it's a radiographic picture. So another radiographic picture is fingerprint appearance. The seen case of some lesions, periapical lesions, fibrous dysplasia. So you have something called as button mouth or fish mouth appearance. So these are seen in scleroderma. You have thin and pursed lips, as in case of scleroderma where it is called button mouth, fish mouth appearance. Then you have used the sword and you have a knife or sword. This knife and all, use it for vegetables and all, cutting vegetables and all. So you have something called as saber. Saber-like lesion in scleroderma in head and neck region. You use the word Encope de saber. So here the sword or knife appearance you see. So you get a cut-like thing which you think it might be they might have injured themselves. So you have something called as claw-like hands, or which you can again see in case of scleroderma. So few more, just few lesions more. Now you have. Sorry, I'll continue.